Real Madrid take on Manchester City. It's a big glamour tie for Pep Guardiola in Madrid. Manchester City, I'm sure, will be relishing given the uncertainty that's surrounding Real Madrid currently. Only 2 points behind Arsenal now in the league. And the narrative around Manchester City this season, that they can't win the league because they're so leaky at the back, but are keeping scoring the goals at the other end, might just change over this Christmas period, Crook.
Yeah, it was a really good performance the weekend against a team who I thought would prove a tricky opponent. Didn't turn out that way. I think the biggest positive for Pep Guardiola is that Erling Haaland didn't score and they still won with ease. I thought Rayan Cherki was absolutely sensational. He's got so much individual quality, and that Rabona assist is going to go down as one of the passes of the season. Phil Foden seems to have found his rhythm again just at the right time, not just for City, but maybe in terms of getting in that World Cup squad next summer as well. And as you say, this is a good time, I think, to be going to Real Madrid, because I've read a lot in the Spanish media about the unrest there, about the fact that Xabi Alonso is fighting to save his job. So I think this is a real opportunity for City to get what would be a statement result.
Yeah, that Rabona cross, Charlie Adam, ever try anything like that?
No, unfortunately not. No, I'm not sure I can get away with it. When I seen that, the first thing that popped in my head was David Dunn's effort. Remember when he fell over?
Yeah.
I remember that. But
that was at Blackburn, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was at Birmingham at the time. But anybody listening to this, go on YouTube and type in Rayan Cherki training with France under 21s, and he does a shooting drill, and he scores some of the best goals I've ever seen. So, like, this guy is a talent. I've seen him play for Lyon against Rangers a couple of years ago, and he was in the same team as Paqueta and things like that. And he's a wonderful talent. But Pep didn't want to give him too much plaudits for his Rabona, but he said, "Listen, his boy's a talent, but he has to do more off the ball, and has to get used to the Premier League and how Man City want to play." But wow, it's incredible, and that's the personality he's got, and you need people that in the team and in your group to make things happen out of nothing. And I just hope he can get a good run in the team now. But he's a special talent, and when you've got somebody like him beside Foden, then this Man City team will start to motor now. And I still think they're the team to beat in the Premier League, and I've said it. You can never rule Man City out.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that they are a team that can put a run together in the second half of the season as well. They're used to doing that. They know that. Okay, it's a few personnel changes, and it'll be interesting to see whether the new boys can settle and get into that same mindset. But there's enough there that have been through it before. And I think Pep Guardiola is getting them to that point where they'll be focused. They will tighten up as the season comes towards its end. And I think they'll give it a very, very, very good go of chasing down Arsenal. And with the gap only being 2 points, and the meeting, I think they meet now, don't they, Crook? Tell me if I'm wrong here. I think they meet in the next game after when do they meet? I was going to say after the transfer window, but maybe that's not true. We'll see. Anyway, when they do meet, it's going to be an absolutely huge clash. We mentioned Phil Foden and the fact that he is looking a little bit more like the PFA Player of the Year that we saw the other season. Why do you think that he has grown in stature again and started to come to the fore?
Well, probably only Phil Foden really knows the answer to that question, because it was perplexing, wasn't it, the way that his form tailed off, not just last season, but actually his demise decline started at the European Championships, when obviously England fans sung a song in his honour, but he just never got going in that tournament. And I do think he suffered a little bit of a Euros hangover as a result, but he's certainly right back in the groove now. And a few weeks ago, if you'd have asked me, will he be part of Thomas Tuchel's squad, I probably would have said no, but I think he's a shoo-in now to get himself a place on the plane. I think he's going to have a massive role to play for Manchester City between now and the end of the season. That Arsenal game, by the way, is not until mid-April, so 6 games before the end of the season. Could be absolutely...
That is going to be a title decider. Yeah. In fact, we've done one of those before, haven't we, Crook? I think I did the one where Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland ripped them a new one a couple of years ago, just like bang, 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 finish them off. It was a brilliant game. Be fascinating to see what happens. Arsenal will be hoping that everyone's fit by the time they get there, because they've had a few problems with defensive partnerships over the last couple of weeks. Mosquera obviously picking up an injury as well to go with Saliba and Gabriel, which has obviously hurt them. Jurrien Timber playing this weekend as an emergency centre half. And look, him and Hincapié are very, very good defenders, but it is a drop-off from those two. And after the game against Aston Villa, I spoke to Mikel Arteta, and I thought he handled the situation, Charlie, really well. He sort of played it down. We're going to get defeated. We're going to lose. We're going to drop points. That is what is going to happen in the title race. But our job is to stay calm and to make sure that we keep laser focused on our goal. This shouldn't really be that much of a surprise. It was never really going to be a procession, was it?
No, it was never. The Premier League doesn't allow you to do that. It's unless you're incredible at the levels you are, like Man City have done over the years, and Liverpool winning the title. But for Arsenal, they're still trying to build, and they're progressing every year, week on week. They're getting better, but they've lost two centre backs. The pairing is the best centre back pairing in Europe at the moment. So that's a huge miss to them, because a big part of what they do, set plays for and against, which are massive. So, no, I think, for Arsenal, if they can get through that period and still being in around the top of the league, and maybe even if Man City go above them, but they're still in touching distance with that, then I think they'll be in a good place going into January, and getting their better players back fit again would definitely help them.
Crook and I are very good at giving each other stick for our crap predictions, but we're also very good at highlighting the ones that we've done okay with. They're few and far between, but Crook's one that he's suggested now that Manchester United might finish in the top 5. Hey, Crook, that looks all right now, doesn't it? That looks okay. It didn't a couple of weeks ago, but it's sort of getting there.
It looks all right this week. Let's see what happens in the next week.
And my Manchester City for the title one is looking okay now. It's all right. It's not too bad. You're not jibing me for that anymore, are you?
In fairness, you've never deserted them, even when it looked like Arsenal might run away with it. Listen, I'm still going to come down on the side of Arsenal. I don't think losing to Aston Villa away from home is an absolute disaster, and I think they've got a kind run of fixtures in December. 4 out of their 5 Premier League games are at home, which I think is a bonus because they're pretty much imperious at the Emirates. Yes, their form away from home has tailed off lately, but again, Chelsea in a derby, not a terrible point. Sunderland away from home, not many teams are going to go and win there. And Villa, as I've mentioned. So I think Arsenal have margin for error. City don't really, because they've already lost a number of matches.
Yeah, but the gap is only 2 points. And the problem that Arsenal had last year was not losing games, it was drawing games. And that has happened recently. So I think, as much as we can talk about, Manchester City lose too many matches, but they win a lot of matches as well. And I think that's the key. It's the ratio of the wins that is really important, because you get 3 points for a win, only 1 for a draw, obviously. But that disparity is quite big. Look, Arsenal have built a very deep squad, and I think we all sat there in the summer and thought this is the best squad because it's the most balanced. They've got 2 players for every position. But Charlie, they seem to pick up quite a lot of injuries. Is that because they play at a certain level of intensity? It can't be anything they're doing in training, because I spoke to Declan Rice last week and he was telling me, basically, we do 20 minutes of training a day, no more than that.
Yeah, again, and that's them just prepping for games and tactical stuff, bit set play. But it's the intensity of the Premier League, the intensity that Mikel wants them to play at. I would like to see. I'd be good to look at the numbers in terms of the stats where Arsenal are in terms of high intensity sprint distance. In the Premier League, it'll be high. They'll be up there, and but they max out on every single game and every single action. So, yeah, that's why they're picking up injuries as well. But again, they're playing a lot of games. The team doesn't change too much either. So, yeah, they want to try and get the best players fit. And I think keeping Declan Rice fit and available for them is a huge factor in terms of how they're playing, because I think since he's gone to Arsenal, his game's gone to a different level. And he's as crucial to Arsenal, to England, as any player at the moment, and he's playing at the real top of his game at the moment.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because what you said there was the team doesn't change that much. And that's a criticism that some of the Arsenal supporters have had of Mikel Arteta in previous years. And actually, with the increase in the depth in squad, many people thought there'd be a lot more rotation. But when I was talking to him about the schedule, I think it was probably a week ago now, and after the Brentford game, I was looking through the squad and I was thinking, well, hold on a second. Brentford have rested all these players for tonight's game, but they've only changed a couple here, Arsenal. And I expect them to change a lot more, by the way, when they go to Brugge in midweek. But things like Christian Norgard hasn't started a Premier League game yet. Could he have not sort of used Norgard to replace Rice or Zubimendi at some point in this season, just to sort of give those players a little bit of a rest, just to sort of mitigate against the chances of injury? Could maybe Ben White have played in the team a little bit earlier, just to rotate one of those centre halves or the right back out, so that they could have just taken the pressure, the load off maybe Mosquera or Gabriel or Saliba? Could that have been possible, Crook? Has he got to get better at that? Has he still not quite got his rotation right?
Yeah, it's a criticism we've levelled at him in the past, particularly when it came to Bukayo Saka. He's got a bit better with him, actually. He does come off in games now, and wouldn't surprise him if he sits out one of these two this week, either in Belgium or against Wolves at the weekend, which is a game you would expect Arsenal to win with relative comfort. The Gyökeres situation fascinates me because Aston Villa, away from home, tough opponents, as we've said. I know he's not been fully fit in recent weeks, but the fact he went with Mikel Merino again up front when Gyökeres is back in the squad, I think tells me that he still doesn't have complete faith in Gyökeres when it comes to the big games, and I still expect him to get most of his goals against the Leicester Lights in the Premier League, as he tended to do in Portugal.
I think the Premier League is so competitive and it's so intense. I don't think you can actually drop or change too many because of what the levels are and where Arsenal are in the league. They want that role because they know Man City are always going to come good and stuff like that. But for Gyökeres, sports science are probably going to say to him, listen, for the long period of him, maybe he's been carrying a niggle or an injury, for the long period to keep him fit and available for the rest of the season, you can't throw him straight back in. Maybe he needs 20 minutes here, he needs half an hour there, just to build him up again to get going. So there's a lot goes into what managers are getting told on a weekly basis from the sports science or the medical team to say, if you put him in, he's at risk of re-injuring or doing this. So I just think because of the intensity of the Premier League there is moments, but I think, like I say, for Champions League, Arsenal in good place. Maybe they will leave a few out tonight, and then they can look at the weekend as well, because you would expect them to beat Wolves, but no, there's a lot goes on to trying to pick a team.
And do we underestimate the intensity of the Premier League in comparison to the other leagues across the world? Because if you look at Gyökeres, who's fantastic not only in Portugal but did a brilliant job in the Champions League as well, and we say that he scored against the Leicester Lights, he got a Champions League hat-trick against Manchester City last season. You look at Florian Wirtz, who was absolutely terrific at Bayer Leverkusen, unstoppable, even played brilliantly for Germany in Euro 2024. And you look at someone like Benjamin Šeško, who again, great numbers in Leipzig, good goal scorer, good physical specimen. But all these players come to the Premier League and it's very difficult for them to hit the ground running. It takes a very special player to do that. Now, different players adapt in different ways. Some of them physically are up to it right from the very start. But do we underestimate just how hard this league is, Charlie?
Yes, but I do think about these signings have gone to the elite level. They've gone to the elite clubs where the pressure is. And I've said it before, I've said it with Wirtz, I've said it with Kerkez at Liverpool at the moment. You could be 6 out of 10 and get away with it. At Liverpool, you can't. You need to be 8, 9, 10 out of 10 every week, and that's the level and the consistency you have to be at. So again, for Šeško going to Manchester United, he's judged straight away. Gyökeres, he's judged straight away being Arsenal's number 9. The money they spent, it was the number 9 that they said they all needed. He was going to be a goal scorer. It takes time to settle. He's played in the Championship for Coventry. To then go to Sporting Lisbon to come back to the Premier League, it's a big step up in his career. So it does take time, and it'll take, a lot of the foreign players it takes them 6 to 8 months to sort of a season, maybe even just to get used to the Premier League. So I think, like I say, the tough times are ahead for some players, but some will start to grow in the next few months, getting used to the intensity and the level and playing for these big clubs.
What was it like for you when you first turned from Blackpool to Liverpool? What was it like, that transition? Did you find the pressure really difficult initially?
I didn't, not the pressure. I felt the pressure to impose myself, but also to show that I was a good player to the top players, and that's what. But I was used to pressure as a young player playing for Rangers, big club. I understood how to win and needed to win every week. That was the reasons why. But for me, it was more about trying to impress the senior players that were in the teams, Gerrards, Carragher's, Pepe Reina, Dirk Kuyt, people like that, to go, you know what, I'm good enough to be here. And that was just a self-conscious thing that I had to prove. But it took me 4, 5, 6 weeks to really feel comfortable within the group.